Natural play spaces provide rich opportunities for children to develop robust and meaningful play. The freedom offered by the outdoors allows children to explore new ideas and develop new skills.
Poison chocolate!
It also offers educators a rich backdrop in which to program meaningful and relevant learning opportunities and develop physical, mental, emotional and spiritual identity. Evidence shows that nature and greenery have positive effects on children, particularly boys, who've been diagnosed with ADHD. Natural environments allow children to explore the sensory elements of sound, touch, smell, taste and vision to form the basis of a lifelong connection to their world. Natural environments that utilise open-ended equipment and plantings that screen and enclose spaces ensure that play can take many forms and develop in a variety of ways. Whatever landscapes a child is exposed to, that will be the sort of gauze through which he or she will see the world. The Victorian Government requires that all early learning services include that the outdoor space that is provided at a children's service includes features that enable each child to explore and experience the natural environment, and further, that outdoor spaces include a range of different natural features such as sand, soil, grass, a variety of different plantings and trees. Allowing children to touch and interact with the natural environment in their everyday play. Belonging, being and becoming the early years national framework for Australia states, play spaces in natural environments invite open-ended interactions, spontaneity, risk-taking, exploration, discovery and connection with nature. They foster an appreciation of the natural environment, develop environmental awareness and provide a platform for ongoing environmental education.
Here children have the opportunity to see life cycles, they have the opportunity to engage in what we consider safe risk-taking, they have the opportunity to discover natural creatures, they plant, they see that whole process through from planting of seedlings, looking after chooks, to eating the eggs, to eating their own produce. So it's a real wealth of exploration and discovery for them. I think it helps them to see, to think about the children's learning as opposed to what they're going to put in a particular area. So thinking about what direction do I want to lead the children, what have they come with that I can pick up on and extend their learning. So combining emergent aspects of the curriculum with intentional teaching. So think first about what the children learn and then think where is the best place to put that. And quite often it's indoors and outdoors. The process for change at this centre, well, we started with some really well-established trees. There was a lot of open space in this playground, and really what the playground said to the children was when they came out the door, start running and keep running. So there was a lot of really wild play, you know, children bumping into each other, play that lacked purpose. And so one of the first things we wanted to do was divide up the play spaces into little habitat areas, if you like, which I'm sure you've seen this morning. So using planting to do that seemed to us very logical given the palette that we had to work with. And so so that happened over time. I think twice in 20 years we've had contractors in to do significant work, and a lot of that was around drainage and big features like the trickle stream and the digging patch, making sure they were done professionally so that we could call tradespeople back if we had a problem later on. But everything else is being done in small parts. Really importantly, you need to see children play in those spaces before you decide what might come next. Because we have ideas as adults about what we think children will do, but they'll create their own pathways, they'll create their own spaces in ways that we haven't even anticipated. So the trickle stream's popular, the digging patch, both of the sand pits, the area that we call the secret garden over here. There's lots of little spaces that sometimes change on a regular basis, even though the frameworks, are maintained. We've had a couple of projects, so on a couple of occasions we've allocated, I think the committee allocated $30,000 to be spent over a couple of years once, but everything else has just been budgeted for like a year in advance. And because we prioritise the outdoors, it's just part of the whole budget. So staff here would rather forsake glitzy, flash, sets of things and put the money into the living environment. The other thing I think that's really important that we budget for every year is we always try and have on staff one staff member who's particularly passionate about gardening. And that staff member spends half a day a week out of the room each week to maintain the garden. And I think that that's actually really important. Playgrounds, outdoor play spaces should never be considered finished, and you can't just do a lot of planting and then walk away and say that's our play space done. Things need to be pruned, maintained, ongoing maintenance, and if you can't, that has to be written into the budget every year, because it's simply not possible to maintain a play space like this by planting and then walking away from it. We have the future of the centre in our hearts, and so we're always looking ahead because I guess we're planning on being here for a while. Some of our really old established trees have a shelf life. We have them looked at by an arborist every year. We know they have a limited life left, but we've already planted trees next to them to prepare for the future so that we know that when they come down, the ones alongside will immediately sprout ahead. So we never consider the outdoor space finished. There's always something to be done, and we would consider that in the same context that we consider maintenance or development of the indoor play spaces. Someone said there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad planning. So the children come outside with umbrellas or gumboots. I guess with the babies, you're not going to bring them out if it's absolutely freezing. But the other day it was raining and the staff took some lovely photographs of, the toddlers huddled under umbrella with the staff members. So really, the weather is an opportunity to learn as well, keeping children safe, but giving them that opportunity to feel rain on their face, splash in puddles. Not all children these days have that opportunity. So again, we see that as part of the program. Well, the things that I would suggest to people, go and look at as many centres as you can, work out the things that you like. You'll see things and you think, yes, I'd so like to do that, and you'll see other things that you think, oh no, that's not quite what I'm looking for. Make yourself a wish list, take a great big project and break it down into small parts, and that's what we've done here. And I really believe that change takes a long time, and long-lasting change takes a long time to implement, but well worth it when we see what the children are capable of doing here.
Swedish researchers compared children within 2 daycare settings, one outdoors in all-weather themes, the other brick surrounded by tall buildings. The study revealed the green daycare centre that had children play outside had better motor coordination and more ability to concentrate. Children use more fantasy play and their social standing becomes based less on physical ability and more on language skills, creativity and inventiveness. Connection to nature gives children the opportunity to care about the earth and its creatures. Natural settings stimulate the senses and integrate informal play with formal learning, helping to build the cognitive constructs necessary for sustained intellectual development. Benefits of nature-based activities include greater calmness and reduced disruptive behaviour. New studies suggest that exposure to nature may reduce symptoms of ADHD and that it can improve all children's cognitive abilities and resistance to negative stress and depression. Outdoor settings that have equipment that can be changed by adults or which are changed by weather conditions offer challenges that allow children to take risks and develop an understanding of how to assess and manage those risks. The physical and social complexity of good quality outdoor play supports children to explore and experiment. By taking risks and making mistakes, children are able to bounce back from their failures and begin to see them as a way of learning and developing. Children need play environments that encourage some risk-taking and that help them develop self-managed behaviour now and in their teens. It's imperative that overemphasis on risk does not impact negatively on the appropriateness of the outdoor play space provided or on outdoor play programs offered to children.
We've learnt about that, haven't we? Everybody needs to wear gumboots so that everyone can jump in the muddy puddles.
Children should have the opportunity to explore and learn the skills required to manage self-risk, demonstrate capabilities and develop resilience. Life has challenges and risks, and children deserve experiences and tools to learn to negotiate these on their own. With few risks, there are few rewards.
Well, a natural play space is an area that we provide for children that uses all of the elements of nature, the trees, the shrubs, the rocks, all the sand and gravel that we have in the outdoors, and we use that to provide areas where children can play open-ended play. They can use their own imagination and play really flexibly outdoors. It also includes the things that we give to children. We give them gum nuts, we give them pine cones, we might give them bricks and rocks, and that's part of their play props, the things they use to then extend on their play, to extend on their imagination and their thinking. Well, the benefits for the children is they start to feel a sense of control. They actually have spaces where they understand what the rules are about. They understand that in this space I can run around and jump and be boisterous, but in this space I actually need to be a bit more careful because people are doing things that don't want to be disrupted. So once they know what the rules are, they're actually able to play quite freely and to understand and to actually conform to those rules, and in fact make up rules for themselves as well. So they begin to understand that different spaces mean different sorts of behaviour. It also means that children can actually extend on their play. Once they're playing in an area where they're not going to be disturbed, an area where the educator has provided them with all the props, the equipment, what I like to call the stuff to play with, they can really build on their thinking, really build on their social skills, really build on their cooperation. And that's where I think educators will find that they're actually able to achieve some of those outcomes that we're looking at, that we talk about in the frameworks. We need to think beyond the fact that being outside for a child is just about fresh air and exercise. We do know that a lot of children, as soon as they're outside, they just want to run around, they want to jump, they want to climb. Not all children want to do that. And in fact, children who do enjoy doing that and seem to do it a lot, if we really watch closely, we'll find that there are times when they too want to do other things but just run around and be boisterous. So we need to make sure that we've got spaces for a whole range of play. We need to make spaces where children can socialise, learn to get on with each other. We need to make spaces for children to act out their imagination, so to play, to dramatise, to be a firefighter, to be an astronaut. We need to make places where they can use their imagination and pretend and play with pretend dinosaurs. Spaces to build things, spaces to do real work, dig in the garden, and spaces to just meet with one friend maybe under a tree and have a chat. Teachers or educators, carers, will start to see children actually being able to manage their own behaviour a lot better. They're not being as frustrated because children are settling for far longer at the play that they've chosen to do. There is enough equipment for children to use because all of the props we use from nature are pretty much endless, so there's always plenty to be used. There's less frustration because of the sharing issues, and children really feel a great sense of achievement and accomplishment, and once we feel that, we're pretty okay about obeying the rules of our society. The role of the educator is also to be able to instill in children the awareness of that natural environment as well. Children will love to explore the natural environment. They will learn to understand how our world works because they're hands-on in that environment. And then once they've got an understanding of it, once they develop a love of the natural environment, then we can ask them to take some control of what happens to it next. And that's when we start to really get into the environmental education that we believe is so important for this generation. When we're working with centres or services that are looking at their outdoor space and looking at how they can provide better quality, more flexible, open-ended spaces that do have these natural elements in them, we tend to talk about three distinct spaces that we require in our outdoors. We require usually an open space because children do need to run. They do need to kick and throw footballs and roll around. We do need that open space where children can let themselves physically go without knocking over other children in the meantime. We then need what we call the active space, and the active space is where we provide them with lots of the other movement skill development, which is the climbing, the monkey bars, the swings, maybe your digging patch. So we're getting lots of that coordination, that physical muscle strength happening in that climbing or that active space. The other space, though, that we often underestimate the value of in outdoors for young children is what we call the quiet spaces. So spaces where children can withdraw to on their own, with one or two friends or a small group, maybe sit under a tree and read a book, play with some teddies, make a cup of tea. They might play with dinosaurs in a dinosaur patch. All sorts of lovely relationship building, thinking experiences can happen when you've got a space you can withdraw to that you think is pretty special and just for this point in time belongs to you and your friend alone.
As the natural play space advocate, Sue Elliott says that early childhood educators are increasingly aware of the potential of natural play spaces, and the new frameworks can be effectively linked with them. And as Sue says, we must develop natural play spaces as landscapes for children to embroider with the loose threads of nature. In such landscapes, children can create meaning, develop a sense of place, connect with the natural world, and feel empowered to live healthy, sustainable lives.